Okay, we're going to go ahead and start. I'm really pleased to welcome all of you to the How I Made It series. It's a bunch of different professionals who are going to talk to you about what they love to do and how they got there. And I'm really eager to introduce you to today's culinary pros. We have John Aspra, who is the owner of Epicurean Cowboy, and we have Chris Warwick, who is the, what's your title again? I'm not looking at my sheet. I know it's at Serenity House.
Serenity House, Director of Food Services.
He's the Director of Food Services at Serenity House. But I think you'll find out that it's usually not a straight line to where people end up, especially when they're in the culinary arts field or when they're doing an entrepreneurial venture. So the way things are going to go today is that I'm going to have each of them share a little bit about who they are and how they got there and their story. And then we're just going to open it up to you all, and you can ask any kind of questions, well, within reason, questions about their profession and how they got there, and they'll answer them for you. And we're very informal here, but what we'll do is about 10 minutes each with an intro, and then we'll open it up to questions. So, John, do you want to go ahead and go first?
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Well, no. You guys are going to have to forgive me a little bit. I didn't find out I was going to speak until a couple hours ago. So I'm nothing prepared, and I think in a good sense that's probably better for this setting, is I'll just speak from the heart and kind of where I came from. So if I bounce around a little bit, keep me on task, settle me down. Epicurean Cowboy is a catering company, a vision that I started almost 11 years ago. And the truth of the story is that I was a college football coach in a prior life. I went to school here in 1979 and 80 and played football here at City College. And of course, like most young guys, my mind's on athletics and extracurricular and not necessarily academics. So I was, through a long series of struggling and working hard at my academics, I ended up getting my degree, my master's degree in higher education administration, emphasis with athletics. I wanted to be an athletic director, a college football coach. Had some neat stints. University of Hawaii, coached at the University of Hawaii for several years, Texas, and here at Santa Barbara City College. I was an adjunct. I'll have a point to this story, so bear with me. I was an adjunct instructor here at City College. And one day they came to me and said, John, the climate of the department and the physical education department has changed. We love you, but we're going to go in another direction. And we're not going to renew your adjunct contract. I was devastated. And that was over the holidays, I think about 1999, 2000. All right, I said to myself, all right, Asper, now what are you going to do? I rolled out of bed the next day and reinvented myself, and I became Epicurean Cowboy. And it's as simple as that. There's a lot of things in between that happened, but that's not far from the truth. Yes, I've been in a family of restaurateurs, and I've been in and out of restaurants as a kid. Worked as a busboy, worked as a waiter, bartender, all through school, all through college, yes. My mother raised 4 children by herself, and I was the oldest of 4. She ran a hospital in small town Texas. And I was always expected in our culture to get up in the morning and do breakfast. So I was always used to cooking. And I had always thought about an art form. My brothers and sisters all play. One's an incredible writer, publisher, other's a musician, et cetera, et cetera. My art form was, I knew how to live, I guess, and to do that through entertaining. Loved entertaining, loved to cook, loved and so forth and so on. So back to square one, a little bit from me, real quick, just to kind of bring that to square. Came from a completely different background, in culinary background. In other words, I wasn't on a fast track, didn't go to culinary school, self-taught. So, what's your point, John? My point would be to any of the older students, or not necessarily older students, students, period. It's never too late to follow a dream, and this was always a dream of mine, and that's the bottom line. It was a dream, it was a passion of mine, Epicurean Cowboy. All right, fast forwarding, Epicurean Cowboy, and the other, on the flyer it says, I've made it. I don't know that I've made it. Still, every day is a grind, and that's the one thing, if you don't leave here without anything else that came from me, from my heart, you've got to realize, whatever it is that you go into, whether it's culinary arts, whether it's business, advertising, being a mother or father, being a good parent, you've got to be willing to do the grind work. And it's what we were just talking about. My day as an owner-operator of a small catering company, I do everything. I do everything from wash the dishes to take out the trash to all the administrative work, and God knows I'm administratively challenged. Well, the advertising, you know, we've gotten to a point now, 10, 11 years later, where I've got a series of good contract chefs, bar managers, floor managers, et cetera, et cetera. So I have a team around me, so when we do these big gigs, I'm not doing it all by myself like I used to. All right, a little bit about Epicurean Cowboy. How in the heck did you come up with the name Epicurean Cowboy? Epicurus, if no one knows who Epicurus was or is, that's the word of the day, and I really encourage you to either it's Wikipedia or Google it or find out who he was. He was controversial at best, but one of his many quips was, what the art of living is through abundant, good food, great wine with our friends and our family in the great outdoors. And that kind of transcends into my cowboy ethos. Grew up wanting to be a cowboy. Some guys grew up wanting to be professional surfers or a golfer or a football player. I always envisioned the great outdoors and being a cowboy and the romanticism that comes with that. And that's another one of our how we live, and the gospel that I try to spread through the ethos of Epicurean Cowboy and our approach to food. And I'll get in more to the mechanics towards the tail end. But here's where I come from, and and how this relates back to, I came from a completely different background, different life. As a college football coach, now you're a caterer. Is that the art of living, how to live and do it with honor and responsibility and accountability to ourselves, to the client, to the food, to the art, to yourself. And it's not a sales pitch. It's who I am. It's who I want to be. And that's important for whatever you do. If you become a chef, you should be into it for the food and for the presentation and the art. And it is a hell of a way to go. It's pressure packed. It's not glamorous. You're on your feet for hours. It's hot a lot of times. A lot of times you'll miss holidays. A lot of times you'll miss things that are important to you, and all the other gangs out having fun, and you're back there grinding and getting ready for a gig. Moving forward a little bit towards the mechanics of Epicurean Cowboy and what separates me, my brand, and us as a company, is that here's where I'm at. About food, you don't have to be a culinary artist and you don't have to be on television or have your own cookbook or have your own TV show. As a housewife, as a house husband, as a mother, father, as a student, for 1 hour a day, do yourself a favor and tell the rest of the world to go away. Turn off the television, turn your iPhone off, put some nice jazz on or whatever kind of nice music that you like, easy listening music, tell the rest of the world to go away and create good food. Epicurus said, what separates us from the animals is our ability to enjoy food. The cat, the dog, the lion, the bear, they eat out of necessity. They need to eat today so they can live tomorrow, procreate, have babies, and move forward. We as human beings, we have a philosophy that we enjoy and taste food. It's important. That's what makes us happy. When we're sad, we eat. When we're happy, we eat. When we're celebrating, we eat. When we're walking down the street, we're thinking about food every day, hopefully in a, not a religious way, but in a romantic way that it fills our soul and gives me a sense of I'm learning the art of living. So, fast forwarding, I know I'm almost done with the 10 minutes. Epicurean Cowboy is a catering company. We cook everything from, we're not a tri-tip and chicken company, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I wanted to take the high-end barbecue, if there is, I wish there was a better term, because as soon as you say barbecue, it puts you in a genre, a connotation of what that is. But it's okay, grilling, outdoor cooking, barbecue, whatever you want to call it, but we take it to the next level. And we're creative. We cook everything from scratch on site. So we're a little more expensive than the other guys. I don't cook in the commercial kitchen, wrap it up in a chafing dish, bring it out to the site, light a sterno can, ring a cowbell, and everybody lines up and eat. We cook on site from scratch. The client many times has to build a canopy, so you have a controlled environment. We'll bring in commercial grade ovens. I've got all my grills and burners and things, but you'll need everything from refrigerator. Anything that you have in a kitchen, you got to build in a field kitchen. To cook from scratch on site. Organic as much as possible the budget can afford. Unfortunately, organic's still expensive, but you like to get there and you like to push the client towards that. Presentation is everything. It's not just, I don't mean to throw the tri-tip and chicken guys under the bus, but I will just tongue-in-cheek a little bit. It's not about cooking some tri-tips, slicing them, putting in a chafing dish, and we're moving out. There's got to be some love and thought behind it. If you're truly thinking about going into the culinary arts, I encourage you wholeheartedly, but you've got to realize the long hours, sacrifice of self that it takes. Whether you're selling pencils or making tiddlywinks, or you're an atomic engineer or a brain surgeon, you got to pay your dues. I've been in it 10, 11, 12 years now, and I don't know that I've still arrived. I mean, I'm desperately trying to get to the next level. But with faith in our spirituality and commitment, we always seem to figure out a way to get through to the next day. We live many times from gig to gig to gig, you know, from paycheck to paycheck. And then it'll be, you know, feast or famine. You know, we're running strong now. We've built a great reputation. Got a good clientele. Most of all of our stuff is referral. And I wish you nothing but the best. I see I'm getting the accent, so I lost my train of thought, but that's okay. I deserve it. I can go on and on. No. That's okay. That's part of my charm. That's okay. Here's real quick. I encourage you to go to the website and see it. Just do a Google search, see what Epicurean Cowboy is. Wish you nothing but the best. Work hard, study hard, be passionate, be focused, and whatever happens, be willing to pay the price and grind it out is my bottom line. So.
Thank you,
that's
John.
it, yeah.
How you doing?
This is Chris Warwick, and look forward to hearing from you, Chris. Thanks.
How many of you are culinary students at City College right now? First semester? Second semester? Third semester? Kendra Weiss told you to come here today? My name is Chris Warwick. I actually went here to culinary program at City College several years ago. Went through the hotel management program here at City College several years ago. Like John, I was a bodyguard for years and years and years and years and years. And I got kind of old for it. And was able to retire when I was 36 and decided I'd go to culinary school. Went to culinary school, went through the program, had a lot of jobs here, there, and the other place. Traveled overseas, you know. Culinary school for me, the reason I want to go to culinary school was to use it as a vehicle to travel. When I was a second semester culinary student, I had an opportunity to move to Ireland for the summer, an internship in a little town called Dingle, Ireland, which is a sister city of Santa Barbara. And I went to work in their fine dining restaurant for that town. I was there and it was absolutely brilliant. Things they do in Europe they don't do here, well, outside of San Francisco. This restaurant, I was working with fish that was maybe out of the water 6 hours. We had our own vegetable garden. We had our own herb garden. You know, cows right down the street. Kerrygold was not too far away. living in a town that makes its own ice cream from scratch, the fat guy's paradise. I was absolutely happy. Came back, did another semester in school, and for those of you that are in a culinary program, they had at one point set up a exchange program with a culinary school in France. I had graduated. It was the first year they were going to do it, so they approached me to go ahead and go on this trip with all the culinary students. As kind of a culinary student, kind of chaperone, because I'm not a 20-year-old culinary student at this point. Went to France, was there for several weeks, drank a lot of wine, ate a lot of cheese, and once again, it was absolutely brilliant. John is much more eloquent than I am. When it comes to when I was going through school, if I could give you one piece of advice as a student, especially in this program, read everything you can read. I don't care if it's a 25-year-old Sunset magazine, there's going to be a recipe in there that is going to become your standard go-to, I've got to make dinner for somebody, or I've got a catering event, and you're going to come up with that one thing. The one thing right now that everybody and their brother is asking me for is roasted Marcona almonds in olive oil with sea salt and rosemary. It is ridiculously easy to do, and everyone thinks it's absolutely brilliant. And I'm like, it's not that hard. Come on, just heat it up, throw it in a pan. But people will pay tons of money for that because they don't know how to do it. I've now given you the recipe. Olive oil, almonds, put it in a pan, heat it up, make them hot. It's great. Everybody loves it. So there's going to be a huge run on Marcona almonds right now because everyone's going to go home and do it. Some of the places that I've worked.
How do you do the rosemary? Do you like just pull it off?
Actually, yeah, what you do, okay, culinary students pay attention. Take a pan, a little bit of olive oil, get it going hot, okay? Marcona almonds, the little white ones with no stuff on the outside. Rosemary, peel it, so basically you pull it off and it swigs like that, run your fingers reverse, and they all pop right off. Take those, put them in the hot oil. Right as they start to turn color, throw your almonds in. Seriously, flip, 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 maybe 60 seconds. A little bit of sea salt over the top, put them in the thing, serve them hot. Everyone loves them. They're absolutely brilliant.
I'm doing that.
They sell rosemary Marcona almonds at Trader Joe's. I work there, and I seriously just made pork chops like encrusted with that the other day. Rosemary.
Actually,
Marcona
that package that they come in,
yeah.
if you take it and put it in the microwave for a minute
Yeah.
and serve them hot,
Money.
it's not as good as what you're going to do, but still pretty good.
Eating on pork, it's gotta be good, right?
Exactly. That's what you have. If it's pig, you're good to go. When I was going through culinary school here, I worked in a deli up in the valley. Was there for several years, left that, and I started doing a lot of consulting. One of the things about restaurants in Santa Barbara especially is you have all these great visions. People, if you live here long enough, you'll see a restaurant open, and you'll see it close 6 months later, and open and close 6 months later, open and close 6 months later. You know, people who have businesses for 11 years, they're the ones that have done their homework, that grind it out and do what they're supposed to do. I've made a lot of money from people in Santa Barbara who just can't figure out, I don't know why my restaurant's not working. Well, you give away way too much food, and you give away way too much alcohol to your friends. Okay, nothing's free. I don't give anything away. I've been doing this a long time. I've never given anybody anything for free. When John was talking about integrity and doing what you're supposed to be doing and being very, very passionate about what you're doing, you know, I'm 43 years old. I can remember my very first food memory. That's how much I love, that in fact I'm a 350-pound dude. I love food. I love everything about food. Okay? But if you can go back through your mind, for some of you it'll be 3 years, if, you know, but to your, when you were a kid, culinary students always crack me up because they're always so young. So I always feel so old when I'm standing in a room full of them. If you can think back to your first culinary food memory, you know, the absolute best thing you ever ate. You know, they got a TV show right now. Oh, the best thing I ever ate. I invented that show years ago, but Food Network has it now. My very first food memory is being a little kid. I'm probably 5 or 6 years old, and I'm eating a peach the size of my head. And I open it up and the pit comes out and I can remember eating it. And I can remember how sweet it was, how soft it was, the fact that I had dew dripping all down my arms. And I can remember eating the entire peach. I don't know how because seriously, it was that big. Those are called food memories. And I could tell you about the most perfect Oreo I ever ate. I can tell you about the most perfect everything I ever ate. For the culinary people,
Teaches everybody.
yeah, take a Chips Ahoy cookie. Most people take Chips Ahoy cookies and they just eat them. Okay, take a Chips Ahoy cookie and just put it on your tongue. If you can taste the coconut oil in a Chips Ahoy cookie, that's what makes Chips Ahoy cookies taste good. It's coconut oil. These are things that as a chef you got to figure out. I love eating things and going, you know, the reason they use lavender in desserts sometimes. If you can tell it's lavender, it's way too much lavender. Lavender is one of those things that you're going to eat and you're going to go, what is that? And then they have to come tell you that it's lavender. You use too much lavender and it'll taste like soap. Anyhow. Pieces of advice. I already said, read everything you can read. Get plenty of sleep. You know, we're talking about long days. You know, I work right now for Serenity House, which is up on the Mesa. It's a hospice care facility. I'm there 12, 13 hours a day, every day, because I love it. I'm going to talk more about that in a second. You want to learn how to make really, really good steaks? Burn a whole bunch of them. You want to learn how to make a really, really good piece of fish? Burn a bunch of it. You have to cook and screw up a lot of food before you figure out how to do it. Okay? When I came here to culinary school, you know, I couldn't scramble an egg to save my life. I could do all sorts of other stuff, but I never understood why my scrambled eggs were always so, you know, my pan's way too hot. That's why. These are things that you have to learn. So when he said take an hour and make some really, really good food, I wouldn't use jazz, more AC/DC, but you have to spend time doing it. First semester culinary students, is Charlie giving you that cook a protein assignment yet? No. You have to cook a protein and pay attention to what happens to a dry heat method. Okay, there's 8 dry heat methods. I did all 8 just to see what the difference between all of them were. You know, a hamburger cooked in bacon fat is a lot better than a hamburger cooked in a microwave. Okay, you got to figure these things out. Burn a lot of food. Once you get to the point where you think you know what you're doing, realize that you don't know what you're doing. There are a gazillion chefs out there, and there are a gazillion of them a lot better than I am. You know, meeting and talking to John, in the short conversation that we had, you know, I'm learning stuff from this guy. I learn from everybody I talk to. I learn from culinary students. I talk to everybody. So if you don't like people, being a chef's probably not your thing. You have to like people. Because when you become really, really good, people are going to want to talk to you. You know, come up with your standard answer. You know, oh, you're a chef? Well, what do you like to cook? You're going to get asked that question 7 million times. My standard answer to that, TV dinners. That's my answer. Every time somebody asks, what do you like to cook? TV dinners. Okay, what do I eat? I eat TV dinners. I eat a lot of TV dinners. Microwave pizzas. Just because after I've cooked for 12 hours, the last thing I want to do is go home and actually make something brilliant. Usually I eat at work. Or I have my lovely wife make me something. Serenity.
1 minute warning.
I'm sorry? Fantastic.
1 minute warning.
Serenity House, the job that I have now, one of the reasons I took that position, I was the culinary consultant that built out that kitchen. I told them, yeah, this is what you need to do, da-da-da-da. We set up their menus, this, that, and the other. This is taking it to a different level for me. I honestly believe I could work at any restaurant I want to work at in the world, okay? I might go in as a dishwasher, but I can work at any restaurant I want to in the world. Serenity House is a project where it's a hospice care facility. Those people are there for pain management and to pass away. I took that position because I love food. Food is my thing. And at end of life, there is nothing better than being able to come to somebody like me and say, my absolute favorite thing in the world is peach pie. And I can make you peach pie. I have a patient there right now, the only thing she eats is cookies. I make her cookies 3 times a day. 3 different kinds of cookies 3 times a day. When she passes away, at least I'm going to know that I gave her exactly what she wanted. As chefs, if you have a passion for it, that's how you show love, without a doubt. And you don't want to show love giving somebody Otis Spunkmeyer cookies. You want to show love making cookies from scratch, making your food from scratch, making everything from scratch. So study, get plenty of sleep, burn lots of food, and then find friends. Trust me, find friends that'll eat your food. Anybody will eat your food. So sometimes it'll be great, sometimes it won't be so great. Okay?
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
My own, I could just sit here and ask you guys how to cook a bunch of different stuff, and I'm well on my way because I've burned tons of stuff. So
You're on your way to being a fine chef.
Exactly. So come on up, John, and we're gonna just put you guys on the spot. I know you need to duck out in about 15 minutes, but let's just open it up to your guys' questions right there.
What's the name of Culinary?
You want me to pronounce the... It's in Talence, France. The name's about that long. I lived in France for a month, and the only French I speak is ha. That's it. That's all the French I know. But it's the glycine, da something else, but it's in Talence. It's a tourism school.
When you said that Dingle was a sister city of Santa Barbara,
Correct.
can you elaborate on that?
Sister city programs are partnerships between cities around the world. Santa Barbara has, I think, 8 sister cities. Dingle, the only reason I ended up there is the guy who was setting that up happened to come eat in the JSB. And the chef, my honest belief, is the next great chef in the world is going to come out of Ireland. And I always talk about it. And he goes, aren't you the guy that wants to go to Ireland? And I go, yeah. He goes, there's a guy out there right now that has a restaurant in Ireland. And that's how I got kind of into that whole program. But it's sister city programs. Every city has a sister city somewhere. Huh?
Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah. Sister city of Santa Barbara.
It's usually somebody's created an alliance with that city, and you do kind of cultural exchanges. There's different auspices, but probably if you looked it up online, you'd find some information.
Yeah, I was actually going to try to work in every sister city of Santa Barbara. So Puerto Vallarta would be my next one. Go work in a tequileria. Yeah, that'd be a rough life.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One is, what is the percentage of raw dish in your menu? Second is it is a difficult challenge if you keep 50% raw and 50% cooked food in one dish. Would that be a challenge?
It all depends on what you're doing. Are we talking about like salads and stuff like that? Like a chicken Caesar salad?
Well, it depends, if it's like a fancy dish with a decoration, or if it's like, natural dish, it depends. I mean, could be 50% salad with, a piece of like a steak or fish or chicken, or like, those fancy cooked food and with a, a fancy raw dish.
That's a tough question, one I'd have to think about, and I'd have to defer to one of our chefs. And it depends on what the context it is. If it's a plated meal or raw foods, I'm assuming, are more associated with raw vegetables and or fruits as opposed to proteins. I mean, the sky's the limit. Believe it or not, we have a couple of clients that at every wedding or large celebration that we do, there's always going to be a vegan or a hard vegetarian involved. And I've got to account for that. I'm not sloughing off my responsibility, but rather than me designing a menu for it, I'm going to hire a vegan chef or vegetarian chef and give him that aspect of the menu and just make sure everything's there that he or she needs. So that's a great question. It just depends on the context of the plate and the serving and the presentation.
Right.
Is it protein, produce,
Right.
Or something else?
Right.
It's a great question.
90% of enzyme in the raw are protein.
That's right.
So, if you have this enzyme knowledge, you don't have to worry about combination of raw with cooked food, concerned about even in a vegan dish, you don't have to worry about protein. The thing is that, cooked food with 50% raw, whatever you cook with 50% raw, even dessert or junk food with 50% raw, that's a good nutrition fact to balance, to keep the balance, and especially in these modern days that we need enzymes that more than used to that to for the not only nutrition balance, also for the environmental pollution.
You bring up a great point. It's almost like molecular science. I'm sure Chef will agree with me. If there's one aspect in your curriculum that you should really pay attention to, and me being self-taught, I need to spend more. I'm busy getting my business to the next level so that I can finally buy a house, not rent a house. But here's what: pay attention to your nutrition. Nutrition. If you're going to become a private chef, one of my dreams was me being a college football coach for 17 years. I thought I'm going to become a chef, a great caterer, because I know a lot about food, and I wanted to chef for a professional athlete. It ain't going to happen, because that professional athlete's body that's his tool, and nutrition is everything. So if you're especially private chefing, nutrition is what it's all about, and that's something that I really need to pay attention to, that I don't know enough about, and I applaud you for bringing that question to us.
Okay, we've got a question here, and a question there, so we'll start right there.
How do you choose your ingredients? Do you do it personally? And how do you, like, I'm not a vegetarian, I love eating meat, but I have a problem with some of the way animals are treated.
Sure.
Just with being corn-fed beef, how do you feel about that?
Chef, I'm doing on the talking.
There's a lot of conscious decisions that you make when you buy food. As a chef, when I was going through school, as you guys are going to go through this program, you'll hear a lot about foie gras, You'll hear a lot about veal, I'm 43 years old. I've never eaten veal in my life. I never will. I've never eaten foie gras. I never will. Almost failed a class here at City College because I wouldn't process it, I wouldn't cook it, and I wouldn't eat it. And they said, well, you're going to fail this section. And I said, good luck with that. And I had a 4.0 grade point average, and they weren't going to mess with me. So, you have to make conscious decisions. I don't eat tortured animals. Some will go, oh, cows are tortured, and da-da-da-da. I don't believe that. But I'm not going to force feed an animal until it dies so I can harvest something to eat. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to hang a baby animal upside down and do that either. So you have to make decisions on how you're going to do it. I'm a chef. My son is vegetarian. My daughter is vegan. So I kind of grew up going, come on, guys, I'm a chef. You're making me look bad. But you have to learn how to deal with proteins, especially for them. So make a conscious decision, buy it from reputable providers, people who are, grass-fed beef is a great place right outside of, that are doing, amazing stuff. And they're really, really good to their animals and da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the way you want to go. Sometimes that's expensive. You just got to figure out how much it matters to you. I'm sure the people and I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure the people at some fast food chain restaurants really don't care what happens to their cows. I care about stuff like that. It's usually more expensive, so you got to kind of make your decisions. At the end of the day, you're going to have to sleep. So,
And within context, I'm in a little bit different end of the spectrum in that I can't afford to pay a chef's wage to go do my procurement. So I do a lot. I have a great relationship with all my vendors. I'm an old school guy in that I rarely carry, real quick answer, I try to buy all my produce, all my seafood, all my proteins sight on, when I get there, I'll pick and choose it and I'll go through that because I can't afford to pay somebody to buy it for me. Making the choices that you spoke of, real quick on that, when I first started Epicurean Cowboy, I wanted to grill the world, and I was all over the board with all these incredible menus and genres of food. And then I realized, John, you can't do all of it. Just what is it that you're famous for? And luckily, and thank God, I've found a spectrum of foods and presentation that I try to stick to. Because you get outside your realm, it's just too much to do for one small company. So, answer your question, I buy all my own produce. I'm there on the docks. I go to the meat. I go to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I do it all myself.
Cool.
Do you know a good candlestick maker?
Okay, question here.
Yes, thank you, gentlemen, for your input.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can help me out on maybe several tips or a couple tips. on gaining employment as an executive chef because I am one, and I'm one of the best. And I'm a humble guy since I'm here. I'm one of the best in California. I've trained Cordon Bleu guys. I've trained CIA. Served Natalie Cole 2 years ago. 300 plus people got us 3-piece. You know, I came out of retirement.
Yeah.
You know, LACB magazine, all this other stuff. I put out almost 800 resumes. And we live in an information age now. And where before I just walk in and put on my mise en place and we look good. You know, and I can walk into any kitchen in the world. Not my extras. I can just walk in and write Spanish in the whole shot.
Yeah.
What do I do now that I'm in 2
My
months
heart's
from
out to
today?
you. I'm going to jump in here. My
It's
heart's
very
out to you.
competitive.
Leave Santa Barbara.
My resume.
Yeah.
Leave Santa Barbara because
Don't
there, unfortunately,
Right now.
you know, I'm teasing, and I don't mean to take your question trite. I
Going
take
into
it with
another
honor,
field right now.
honor and respect. It's some of the greatest chefs in the world's come through Santa Barbara, and they have these great ideas, and they're just not. We don't have the food culture here with service.
Yes,
You
so
can be
I
the
figured-
world's best chef anywhere, and as soon as it goes from the back of the house to the front of the house, we.
And I see the type of people who work in the kitchens now.
Have you been out to Bacara?
That's it. Bacara, Biltmore, Four Seasons,
Bacara,
Cedar Ranch, and
Bacara, Biltmore, and St. Cedar Ranch.
So I
Before
figured-
you leave, get my
Yeah,
business
that's,
card.
he's.
Get my
That's
business
one last
card.
thing. I figured that I wouldn't give hope, give one last shot, so I'm gonna go out in person soon. But I'm dusting off my UCLA diploma
Oh,
and
yes,
Santa
you
Monica
gotta do
College,
that.
and I'm back here, 55. Feel good.
Thank you. And we have a question back here.
Second email.
I have a question regarding on-site grilling with your business and stuff. Do you get a square meat before you do the on-site grilling?
Can you repeat the question?
I think the question is, do I need an on-site cooking permit per
Yeah.
event?
Yeah.
Depends on where it is. If it's in a public venue, many times, yes. We're fully licensed and bonded, have a, you know, a product liability insurance out the wazoo, have food handlers, permits, et cetera, but here's, and I'm on camera and I'll be right up front with you, it's a matter of semantics. You as the client hire me as your private chef and I come to your home or to your winery or your barn or your ranch and I'll cook for you. So the rules are a little bit different, but if I go on a public facility or venue, yeah, I've got to have all my UCSB, et cetera, yeah, you got to have all that in mind. And,
Thank you.
More questions here.
Question to John.
yeah.
What would be your advice if tomorrow I want to be a private chef? Like I cook pretty much every day because I'm same passion, but I don't know anything about vintage classes, nothing. What would be the advice if tomorrow I would start doing my private chef business?
It'd be tough without a client.
How do you find it?
Word of mouth, good reputation, go to work for a guy like this. You gotta be working whilst looking for work. And yeah, you can't do it from the school desk. You just gotta get it, you know, and that's that old saying, I got a degree from the University of Hard Knocks.
Well, it's interesting, this question, it occurs to me that some of the advice that we give to pretty much all kinds of students in the Career Center is to do an internship or do some volunteer work, you know, because then all of a sudden you're in that world, you're making, you're having experiences, you know. A lot of students want to be maybe be an executive chef or anything else, and they want to start at the top, you know. It's like maybe you're going to have to cook for the preschool, you know.
Well, the answer that I've always given when I get questions like this, you want to be a really, really, really good chef, learn how to wash dishes.
That's right.
Okay. Then after you wash dishes, you're going to be working making salads, and then you're going to be making desserts, and then you're going to be doing this. And when you get to wash dishes, if you wash them really, really fast, your job's done, and you can pay attention to this guy over here, and you kind of move your way up the thing. And it was humbling for me at 38 to be washing dishes, but it's the only way you're going to learn how to do it. Because when you have your own place, you the man. You got all these people working for you. Guess what? At some point, dishwasher's going to call off. And you have a choice to pull off in front of your staff. You can bump everyone down, or you can go down.
Yeah.
I've never bumped my staff down. I've always gone and done the bottom job because it shows your staff oh, this guy's not above doing anything. And I'll wash dishes, take out trash, and it's not the greatest thing in the world, but guess what? Somebody has to do it.
Yeah, the problem is that even here, they ask you for at least 2 years experience to be a dishwasher. So even if you go there and, hey, I just want to wash dishes, I want to work, you know?
Well, that's Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara, that's why I work in the Valley. You know,
Yeah.
the Valley, that's why I'm up there, that's why I'm in Santa Maria. You know, the job market now is crazy, you know. I'm blessed to be where I'm at. You know, but I studied a lot, and I worked really, really hard. So, dishwashing, baking, doing anything, having a job, you know, it doesn't matter what your job is, having a job. Learn how to deal with people, you know. Being at City College, you know, try to get a job at City College washing dishes in the cafeteria. That's a hard job, but it teaches, yeah, you know, because there's a bunch of people that they don't do what they're supposed to do and they go away. I used to run the people up at the cafeteria, and they go through them. So take one of their jobs. Just show up and work harder.
Question back there. Did you have a question in the black t-shirt? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw your hand go up. Okay, we have one right here.
Just on that note, was it you asked that question? I don't know if you're taking the introduction to food service class, but just something that over and over is repeated is you're going in for a job, be prepared to not be paid for it and just be able to, like, I don't care if I'm not even paid, I just want to be in your restaurant and kind of absorbing what's going on in the kitchen, and even if it's cleaning toilets or, like you said, doing dishwashes, do it to the best of your ability with integrity, and they'll see that. Like,
you know, that's at Serenity House. One of the big things is we're partnered very closely with City College. And it has a lot to do with me, but it has a lot to do with the board of directors are a lot of the same people on both. So I'm one of the few places in Santa Barbara that have my pick of interns. I do internships up there. I have a student every semester that comes to work with me. One of the biggest things that we had to figure out in the very beginning was, oh, we won't hire a dishwasher, we'll have the interns do it. I won't bring interns up there to do dishes. That's not their gig. You know, like let's say you were my intern. You're going to be cooking food while I wash dishes. I need to teach you how to do it. I'm figuring most of the people in this room know how to do dishes, right? I probably don't need to teach you how to do that. I want to teach you the good stuff. But internships are a good way to go. Don't do it for a long time, man. Don't do it for a long time. You got to work and get paid. You got bills just like everybody else. But if it's going to get you in the door and you got to do it for free for a month, you know, I don't know who can work for free for a month, but in a month, they should pretty much figure out whether they're going to hire you or not.
Good.
Start paying you.
That's great advice. Unfortunately, John has to leave us, and we appreciate you sharing your information. And I'm going to send all of you who've signed up you haven't signed in, please sign in. And I'll send you his website and email. And you should check out his website. I went and looked at it. It's pretty cool, the Epicurean Cowboy.
And if you have any questions for that guy, just send it. He's the nicest guy in the world. He really is. He's a lot nicer than I am. So,
I don't know. He didn't read his email because he knew about being here speaking. Any more questions for Chef here, or should I start asking what his favorite recipes are?
Like, I've been working like in food industries. Well, I used to work in Taco Bell, but now since my boss, he wouldn't pay attention like to what I did. You know, like I would want to work a lot, and I wanted to be like manager there, but he wouldn't see that I was interested. But I did everything I could. So they told me last Friday that if your boss doesn't see that you want to progress or doesn't help you out, you should just move out of that restaurant. And that's what I did. I went to Maravilla.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so from there, like I try to do my best. I do everything. Like if somebody tells me to do something, I do it without complaining. Because there's a lot of employees that are like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I don't complain and I do it because I want to do it. But what do you suggest for me if I stay in the same place? Like if the manager doesn't see that I want to be a cook or a chef, because right now I'm a busser, and I want to be already preparing the food and stuff.
I'm just going to repeat the question so we have it on the videotape. It sounds to me like your question is, how can I stand out and show my supervisor that I really want to cook and that I want to be a chef, even though I'm doing one of these maybe lower on the chain kind of jobs?
Every place I've ever worked, opened, anything, most of my sous chefs, my under chefs, when you go in as a manager, usually what happens is you'll go in, you pay attention to who's there and who's doing what. I always spend about a week trying to figure out who everybody is and what their strengths and weaknesses are. Because then you can start going, okay, I need to make this change, I need to make that change. As a busser, as a dishwasher, as the guy that sweeps floors and takes out trash, those are all really, really important jobs. People, as managers, like you're talking about your situation at Taco Bell, it was absolutely not your fault. It was somebody else's fault. It was your manager's fault. Managers are supposed to pay attention to what their employees are doing. And you take star employees and make them even shinier star employees. When you take advantage of people and don't pay attention to what they're doing or don't care about what they're doing, that's the manager's fault. My best advice, just work really, really hard. And anytime you can put in, hey, I want to do this, or hey, I want to do that, bring it up. Good managers love people who are go-getters. Okay, I always want to hire, promote, train, and invest time in people who want to learn things. I've had several restaurants in Santa Barbara. I've had several restaurants in the Valley. I've had several restaurants back east. That, you know, I go in there and it's usually the guy that's making salad or the guy that's making desserts. And I will take them and da-da-da-da, and I'll spend about a year with them. And when I leave, guess who takes my job? The guy that I've taught everything to. You know, this guy knows how to do everything. I know you guys pay him to make salad, but he knows how to do everything. So I have several success stories out there where these people were making $8 an hour, and then they were making $60,000 a year, which is about $30 an hour. So, you know, just work really, really hard, and if they're not paying attention to you, don't be afraid to move, because it's not your fault. It's a manager not paying attention to what you're doing. And there's a lot of bad managers out there. There are. You know, I replace tons of them every year.
More questions?
I have a quick question.
We have a question back there, and then you.
Do you know of any other internship opportunities or places for, because I'm a senior in high school, and so I feel like I can't really get many.
Why not?
Because
How old are you? 17, 18?
17.
You can get internship positions. If you go through the, what is it, the Randy's office, that area.
The culinary office.
The culinary office. They have a bunch of stuff in there. Usually you have to be a culinary student. I know a lot of us want to be chefs, you know. Here's the thing, if you want a job in Santa Barbara, learn how to work front of the house. Learn how to be a fantastic server. Learn wine. You know, learn these things. Okay? There are a lot of brilliant chefs in Santa Barbara. There are about 6 great servers in this entire county. Okay? And I'm one of them, and I work in a kitchen. So, service end of it, that's actually where the money is. Oh, that's the other thing. If you want to be a chef, you know you're not going to make any money, right? Servers will kill you, because servers make all the money. I have servers that have worked for me that make $80,000 a year when I'm making 50. So, but yeah, no, you can find internships. Some other places that you might, I'm sitting here thinking about your situation at the same time. Places like Costco, places like Lazy Acres, you know, pull yourself out of a restaurant and go work at Safeway in their deli, or go work at Safeway in their meat department or something like that. Costco does ginormous production. You know, somebody has to make all those muffins. You know, be the guy that makes those. You're going to learn a ton at Costco. You know, somebody needs to make rotisserie chickens. You know, you learn a lot at a place at Costco or Safeway.
And we've got great company.
You know, and yeah, oh yeah, that's the other thing is those places have benefits too. You know, so
That's interesting advice.
yeah, my very first cooking job was actually in a deli, and you don't learn how to make, you know, steaks and this, that. Now I've made a wide variety of stuff, so that's the other thing to think about. Try to get a job at like Costco, Safeway, something like that.
We have a question here.
Yeah, I was just wondering, all these events that we have, like coming up, this avocado festival,
Mhm.
what kind of permits do?
They have to get permits from the city. Some of them are from the county.
Uh-huh.
Food permits, there are a couple, if you go there and actually look at how they're set up, I mean, they're mobile kitchens, you know, mobile kitchens, but yeah, it's a lot of permitting, make sure everybody has their food safety stuff, their serve safe certifications, yeah, they're regulated, especially several years ago, one agency almost killed like 70 people, food poisoning. If you're in the culinary program, you'll hear this story at some point. Yeah. Yeah.
You go to the city hall or something for that?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so.
Okay.
More questions? More recipes? Can you share one more? I love to cook. Can you share a recipe? Like
What do you want to
something?
know?
Okay, let's see. Something not too difficult that my kids eat everything, but that my kids would like.
I'll give you a recipe for the absolute most brilliant salad ever made.
All right.
Okay.
You guys ready?
Romaine lettuce, strawberries, feta cheese, walnuts, purple onion, grated Parmesan, raspberry vinaigrette. It's a brilliant salad.
Okay. Romaine, strawberries, walnuts, purple onion, feta, shaved Parmesan, grated Parmesan,
Either.
and raspberry vinaigrette. All right.
There you are.
I think that's a great way to end. Thank you so much for coming. We really enjoyed it.
You guys are free to go.
Or